That's why we had the best job numbers ever, because of what we did with regulation. You know, we cut taxes more than any president in history, and we cut regulations more than any president in history. But I will order federal workers to get back to the office in person or be terminated from the job immediately. And we will create the new Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon Musk. Elon's done an amazing job. Isn't it nice to have smart people that we can rely on? Right? Don't we want that? He's done a great job.
And joining us now is Art Laffer, former Reagan economist and a man who gives advice to virtually every president since then that will listen to him, that has the sense to listen to him. Art, great to see you. You are also co-author of The Trump Economic Miracle, a title that I'm sure Donald Trump appreciated. Art, great to see you. These are grand plans, Art. An Irishman would say, oh, they're grand plans. The question is, can they pull it off? What do you think?
They should be able to. I mean, Elon Musk is amazing. Vivek Ramaswamy is great. But they need to focus on, most of all, David, is they need to focus on incentives. Yes. They need to make it rewarding for government employees to right-size the department or agency. Right now, they have all the incentives in the world to expand way beyond what is necessary, because that's the only reward. They don't get any punishment for making the inefficient department, and they do get rewards by having a larger and larger and bigger department. What they also need to do is make sure they've put in a reward system for department employees that make the department more efficient, more productive, save money on all that. They really need to focus on the incentive structures. Now, there are lots of departments you just look at and said, let's get rid of them. Right. That's great. But to make sure it lasts and goes, you need those incentives, and that's where they need to be.
Well, you mentioned one, and by the way, dear old Bob Bartley is smiling down on us right now, because the first thing he told me when I was working for the late editor of the Wall Street Journal, he said, David, only two words matter in economics: incentives matter. Incentives matter. He had it, you have it. What besides maybe giving tips and getting an extra bonus for good tips, what incentives could lead to a major downsizing? I mean, they're trying to save $2 trillion from the budget.
Well, if you just make the incentives correctly, that'll do it by itself. It may not do it in 2 minutes, but it'll do it by itself. If you make them rewarded by contracting the size of a department or agency, or even eliminate it, if you made it a big bonus system there for the people who made it happen, there's no way they would avoid doing it. It just put in the private incentives that would be in a company. When you look at a division that's not profitable, you need to shrink that one. One that's very profitable, you need to expand it. Same thing is true for this. I was the first chief economist, as you may remember, in the Office of Management and Budget when it was formed in 1970 with George Shultz. I was his right-hand person. And, looking at this thing, the incentives are all screwed up in the budget, and that's why we have such outlandish government spending and inefficient programs. You put those incentives in and bang, you will see the thing go quickly. And it'll be really great to see. And it will have as much effect as cutting tax rates and producing the other side of the equation.
Well, it's amazing that at the age of 14, you could become chief economist for OMB back in 1970.
Thank you.
That's just extraordinary. But what is also extraordinary is how quickly Biden has grown the baseline of the budget. In just 4 years, it has gone from, in 2019, it was $4 trillion, 440 billion. Now it is $6.75 billion, more than $2 trillion increase in the base. We're not just talking about these temporary pandemic programs. We're talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, all these other things. I mean, that's the evil cancer of the growth in government.
Yeah, they just can't keep their stinking hands off the economy. They just got to meddle in every darn thing they see. The CHIPS Act is silly. It should never have been done. All of these things are. But again, if you're going to do these programs, to make them saleable and to make them work, you need to tie government spending reductions with tax cuts. And so you make it so you have the carrot and the stick. And the carrot is that you're going to pay a lot less in taxes. Now, I would strongly recommend cutting payroll taxes as one of the items there in exchange for reducing government spending. I mean, that is one that would be very, very good. Tie the bills together. And you look at it, it's just common sense and good nature. that allows them to really come to this. And can I ask you one more, just on the earlier discussion you had in your first segment? You had the thing about the Panama Canal and Reagan and Buckley debate, which was a delicious debate.
It was.
I mean, if you saw it, it was really wonderful. But Sam Hayakawa said it best when he said, you know, we stole the Panama Canal fair and square.
That
was Sam Hayakawa's response.
Senator,
and Trump appears right in that line.
All right. Let me ask about another institution that a lot of people would, if not get rid of, at least like to change it and downsize it enormously, and that's the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has gotten so many things wrong for so long, and just recently, I mean, just last week, they lowered the interest rate at the same time that the 10-year Treasury, the market in general, was raising interest rates, because the market in general understands that we still have inflation. And if banks are going to lend out money, they want to make sure that they get it back with a profit. And that's why the market, I think, understands what's going on a lot better than the Federal Reserve. So why can't we just turn the Federal Reserve into some kind of currency board, something that doesn't set rates officially, because they do a lousy job at it?
Yeah, I think it's completely correct. If you know, from 1913, when we put in the Federal Reserve, to the present, the price level of the United States has risen 33-fold, or a little bit over 3.2% per annum compounded. That's the average. In the prior 2.5 centuries, prior to 1913, there was absolutely no general inflation for the whole time period. Now, prices did go up and down and interest rates did, but there was no generalized inflation at all. That's what we need to do, is get a currency board or get some way of privatizing the Fed, just the way it was prior to the Federal Reserve Board when it came into existence.
And extending,
so, banknotes still work.
And extending those 2017 tax cuts immediately. Don't wait until they expire, because one thing is you got to get money in people's pockets, but more than that, if they expire, we have a tax hike on 65% of Americans. They're gonna lose the 2026 midterms, right? Very quickly.
Well, let's hope they don't. That's what Reagan did, but we would not only would get lower inflation, but we get more jobs, output, and employment. What could be better than a win-win-win-win-win? That would be perfect.
Art Laffer, you're
David,
a win-win-win-win-win as well. Great to see you. Have a wonderful Merry Christmas
to you, sir.
And a Happy New Year, Art. Great to see you.